What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. I have an interesting video to share for y'all today. Apparently, the DoD and the Pentagon sat down and talked about UFOs and how to handle the phenomena in general. And I thought this was an interesting video to look over. So let's watch this one together, y'all. All right, so first we're going to go to this link here. This is a little interesting, right? Let's look at the title here. It says, how U.S. military is preparing to deal with UAS and UAP phenomenon. What? Phenomenon. They can't even spell it right. Over its military bases. Now, granted, this is just this YouTube channel that put it up. So, and that's I think that's just clearly a simple error. Okay. So here, let's just start watching and go with it, y'all.
General Gill, I want to begin with you. We had some conversations about what happened December 2023 at Joint Base Langley, Eustis, where we had incursion of UASs, small UASs, for almost a 2-month period. We got briefs about what happened there. They came in well lit. They weren't trying to hide anything. I felt bad for the base commander because he wanted to do something and wasn't getting backing from folks up the chain of command. We had a bunch of resources there where we could do things. None of those were used. If it wasn't for NASA Langley next door, we wouldn't have even had the sensors to be able to sense those unmanned aerial systems that are there on site. Let me ask this. We have, from a hearing then, asked for a priority list under 130I. What bases are priority? What's being done to protect those bases? How do we make sure those things don't occur again? I believe that our adversaries are probing, trying to figure out what we can do, what we can't do, and that's very telling to them. What they saw that day or what they saw over that month, it was very telling to them that there wasn't the type of reaction that was necessary. My question is this: what has been done in the meantime for us to be assured that Northcom and NORAD is doing everything possible on these bases to protect them from these UAS threats? What's our counter-UAS? Where are we with prioritizing these bases? Where are we with training our security forces on base to protect those bases? Where are we with supplying kit to at least the priority bases or have some network of equipment that's necessary to make sure we're protecting these bases?
All right, so before we hear the answer to that question, let me explain that UAS just means unmanned aerial systems, right? Now, some people will put UAP with that, right? Unidentified anomalous phenomena, right? And if you remember, over military bases, in recent memory, there have been reports of UAP or UAS, whatever you want to say, things flying around these military bases that the military bases can't really stop, right? So that's why they're kind of talking about this, and rightfully so. So let's continue.
Congressman, since the Langley incursions of December 2023, Northcom has requested and then last November was given the responsibility to synchronize the DoD and, if necessary, interagency response to counter UAS incursions. During that time, we've conducted 3 assisted responses where we can use our new responsibilities to bring capabilities to a base, similar to what you saw at Langley, but this time with the authority to operate those systems based on our headquarters' close ties with the interagency and LNOs to get the FAA and other authorities that are necessary to operate once they land. The responsibility for defending bases resides with the services and with the installation. But what Northcom has done is proposed a process where we would bring in flyaway kits to supplement or, in the case where there are no capabilities, provide the initial capability at that base to defeat that. Now, we don't have those kits yet, but we're in the process of acquiring those.
I would say there's certainly a sense of urgency there in making sure that we get that done, especially here at the homeland.
Sir, I share that sense of urgency.
Thank you.
We continue to have folks who surveil or send drones over our bases or put infrastructure things that have the potential to surveil. How serious are we in Northcom in the protecting and hardening our bases against surveillance and also attacks?
Congressman, between both NORAD and Northcom, we're very engaged in what you described. NORAD to ensure that the air sovereignty of the United States and Canada are maintained. Northcom for the UAS challenge that you mentioned, and we're working with the services and with the department to increase not only the capability but also to expand the authorities we have to knock out not only aircraft or UASs that are a direct threat, but also that are surveilling over the installation, and I'd like to even see it expanded beyond the installation to ensure they can't see anything sensitive on our bases.
Thank you, General.
You didn't mention balloon or dirigible. You mentioned UAS 17 times, Chinese 3 times, China 7 times, but you never connected the dots between the Chinese balloon or a Chinese UAS. And so I'm going to ask you, Mr. Leonardo, has the Department of Defense given the general the authorities to shoot down anything that is up and around our sensitive military bases or the airspace of the United States, these UASs? Does he have to call you, or can he do it himself?
Congressman, thank you for that question. As you know, it's difficult in the homeland.
Yes or no?
I had to take that specific question for the record, sir.
All right, so we need to have the authorities pushed down to the general, and the general needs to push it down to the person on the base. And when you mention that you don't have the capabilities, but you want to because of the procurement system, that's a real issue. It's been 2 years. So we have to learn, sir. I want you to not have to call him. And Pete Hegseth, who I trust implicitly, I mean, he's a great dude, but he shouldn't have to make that call. He shouldn't have to make that call, nor should you. I just want to make sure that that is very clear.
Sir, I do have the authority to shoot these
right
down.
now. You can, but do you
over
have the capability?
Over an installation or a threat to the United States coming in, from the outside, I have the authority to shoot that down.
What's a threat? It was a Chinese balloon, and the Biden administration lied to every single person saying that they couldn't penetrate that stuff, that we were blocking them. That's not true. You need proximity. And unless a plane was flying with ECM jammers, that's not true. The Biden administration lied to everybody. I want to make sure you can shoot down something over Canada, you can shoot down something over the United States.
I recently participated in a CODEL in Southcom. And by the way, I served in the Navy SEALs. Most of my experience was Southcom. And I learned that the cartels will lie, cheat, steal, and they will kill you to get their way. And there is no way they're giving up $1 billion business. Now, when we were down at the border, we talked with the mayor, the sheriff, business owners. We met with ICE agents, Border Patrol, and the 10th Mountain Division. And we asked them, what are your concerns? What's going on? And they said that on one particular Saturday, border crossings were 0 compared to 2,000 crossings a year before. And so I think, as I heard one of the members say, is we didn't need new policies. We needed a new president who was serious about protecting the homeland. But that being the case, what I heard from every one of those groups was they can see drones coming from Mexico. They can see where they're coming from, and they're hovering around our Border Patrol vehicles. They're hovering around our military bases. And General, I heard you say that you had permission to shoot them down, but I spoke with 5 different agencies, and they all, as of a couple of weeks ago, said they were not sure. So it is not clear. So I'd like to hear what the answer is. Can they or can they not shoot these drones down?
When I said we could shoot them down, that's over an installation that is covered under 130I. The forces on the border at this time are not, because they're mobile, and so I put in a request for 130I to be expanded to include U.S. forces within 5 miles of the border.
I understand. There are many ways to possibly solve this problem. We're looking at legislation that takes a different approach, but we'll talk about that later. But we should have had this settled 2 years ago. Basically, there are many times in our history where our soldiers have been caught with their pants down, and they're reactive, not proactive, and we should be able to detect and engage far before they get anywhere near our soldiers or our installations.
Last year, we saw a notable increase in drone and UAV activity near sensitive infrastructure, including military installations. In my home state of Missouri, we're proud to host several crucial and vital military and intelligence installations, including NGA West in my district in St. Louis. I'm deeply concerned regarding the threats unauthorized drones pose to our intelligence operations and military personnel. General Guillot, are there additional authorizations NORAD and Northcom need that could help enhance their ability to detect and counter unauthorized drones and UASs?
Congressman, the biggest benefit that we would get would be from expanding 130I authorities to include information sharing on those tracks with federal, state, and local law enforcement, would be to classify all DoD installations as covered under 130I instead of just select ones, and then also to expand the area that we can engage a UAS instead of being limited to the perimeter of the installation to go slightly outside so we can get UAVs that might be looking across into our installations, or somebody that we detected and is trying to get away, that we can get them and capture whatever it is that they surveilled over our installations.
First, some of my colleagues have talked about this, several on counter UAS, but I want to just reemphasize the importance of this point and share in my district. We have a really interesting setup where we have Stewart Air National Guard Base, which is both Air National Guard, but also an actual international civilian airport, which presents a lot of complexities. And late last year, we actually had a series of controlled airspace drone incursions in December 2024, including several very, very sizable drones that were within 25 feet of our C-17 fleet at Stewart.
Now, again, when they're saying drones, at least in the UFO community, they're thinking of them as UFOs, right? That's sort of the deal here, right? That's why the title has UAP phenomena, right? Because this kind of clumping it together. Maybe they're calling UFOs UAVs now, and drones, but what are we talking about here, right? Are these actually anomalous flying objects, right? Or what? I don't know, but it's interesting to hear how the military is planning on dealing with this, right? It looks like they want to expand their capabilities to take care of the problem, right? Shoot them down, chase after whoever, do whatever. And in my opinion, yes, they should have full authority to sort of engage these objects, right? Especially if they're flying over sensitive military bases.
The airport actually had to close down under on the FAA side, which is in and of itself unprecedented. And in conversations with leadership there at Stewart, they are still doing their best, certainly, and working very, very hard, but feel that they still don't have full clarity on authorities, and I appreciate some of your answers on that, General Guillot, today, and also certainly don't have the tech and some of the other support pieces that they need. So on that note, General Guillot, you talked about 130I. Have you actually recommended to the Secretary that all installations have that? I know you said that in your previous answer. Has that recommendation been made?
Yes, Congressman, I have made that recommendation.
Is your sense that that's moving quickly, or that there's anything we can do to accelerate that given the urgency?
Sir, it's been well received, and I think it's moving quickly. That and the other three elements that I brought up that I think we need to better address this threat, this growing threat.
Thank you.
Growing
and I know,
threat.
I think it was my colleague, Mr. Whitman, spoke about sort of deploying some sort of relatively rapidly deployable set of tools. Is that something that the committee can support, or that we can support to push on?
Congressman, I'll take any help I can get there. We have the authority now to use flyaway kits. I think we have the great relationship with FAA that would allow us to operate them quickly. We just need to procure and field those kits so we can respond to Picatinny and Stewart in a fast. My goal would be inside of 24 hours being able to respond.
And just to build on that very quickly, to their credit on the ground and partnering with the TAG in New York State, there are some very sophisticated tech capabilities there at Stewart that they're exercising and practicing now. And so figuring out, to the chairman's point and the ranking member's point, how to speed up the procurement of those exact kind of capabilities, I think is something we're all keen to push on. Very quickly, I wanted to shift to a different topic and bring both General and the Admiral into this, and possibly you, Mr. Leonardo, as well, if we have time. There was very concerning reporting about a potential consolidation of Northcom and Southcom into a new entity. not a lot of public details available, but I want to commend and acknowledge my colleagues, including Chairman Rogers and SAS Chairman Wicker, speaking out, saying at a minimum, we're very concerned about reports that this is being considered, and quote, we will not accept significant changes to our warfighting structure that are made without a rigorous interagency process, coordination with combatant commanders and the Joint Staff, and collaboration with Congress. Actually, I'll start with you, Mr. Leonardo. Is that happening right now? Is this real? Is this just another thing that's sort of been put out there, or is there an actual interagency process playing along, and do you plan to update the Congress and this committee on that?
I don't want to get ahead of internal deliberations, but I will note we want to maintain a strong collaboration with Congress to make sure that you have up-to-date information. And I'll also note, as I started today, the Homeland and Western Hemisphere are high priorities for this administration, so any such decisions would have to weigh against what resources are necessary in order to fulfill the missions that we need to do in those areas.
Do you acknowledge, and does the administration acknowledge, that this would require an actual act of Congress to do?
I wouldn't like to speak on the hypothetical questions.
Well, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, would removing a combatant command, which has been proposed, require, or merging to be specific, require congressional approval and ultimately authorization?
I'd have to review with the lawyers, sir, whether or not that would require congressional authorization.
So, very interesting. One, because nowhere in that clip do they say the word UAP, but that's how this is being shared and shown everywhere, right? And that's kind of been the issue, right? The term UAP is not really being used in this context. It's drone and unmanned aerial systems, right? So Congress isn't even acknowledging that there's some sort of anomalous phenomena. They're pretty much saying, we know what it is, we just don't know how to stop it, right? So I guess there's a few things to consider here. One, this is all interesting, how the military wants to handle these incursions, which I agree should be handled. But it's also interesting just from the UFO community that they're attaching UAP to this, where that's not mentioned. Now, I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just saying why, where, what's happening, right? Is it because some of these drones have done things that they're just like, these can't be drones, right? They're huge. They're coming so close to installations and flights, and airports get shut down, and right. So it's very interesting. I don't know, right? Curious to see what y'all say in the comments about this. I'll put a link if you want to go watch this on your own without my reaction to it. But again, it's like they have these conversations without saying the word UAP, right? So in a sense, if there's more about this, unless it's tagged with UAP, it kind of gets, I don't want to say lost, but it gets put in the file of, right, just drone or unmanned aerial systems, right, and them addressing this. So I don't know. Does this have anything to do with UAP, right? And does unidentified anomalous phenomena always mean some sort of non-human thing, or just unidentified? So that could fall under it, right? And how do they know that these systems are unmanned? If they don't know what it is, how are they saying it's unmanned? I mean, how do they know, right? So very curious. I don't know. Just thought I would share it. So anyway, all right, vetters, we'll see you in the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.